Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just couldn't understand someone's behavior? Maybe a friend or colleague was acting in a way that seemed totally irrational. Or a family member was pushing all your buttons and you couldn't figure out why. Well, my friend, it's time to take a deeper look at the mysteries of human nature. Here we dive deeper into the insights of The Laws of Human Nature, by Robert Greene. Chapter 1. Master Your Emotional Self. You might be thinking, I already know how to control my emotions. But do you really? Robert Greene argues that many of us are slaves to our emotions, reacting without thinking and letting our feelings get the best of us. One key lesson from this chapter is the importance of understanding our shadow selves, those dark, hidden parts of our personalities that we might not even be aware of. By bringing these shadows into the light and facing them head-on, we can start to gain control over our emotional responses. For example, imagine you're in a heated argument with your partner. They say something that triggers a deep insecurity in you, and suddenly you're lashing out and saying things you don't really mean. But if you've done the work to understand your shadow self, you might recognize that this insecurity is something you've been carrying around for years. Instead of reacting defensively, you can take a step back and address the root of the problem. Chapter 2. Transform self-love into empathy. It's natural to be focused on our own needs and desires, but according to Greene, true empathy requires us to step outside ourselves and see the world through someone else's eyes. One way to cultivate empathy is by actively listening to others, without interrupting or trying to fix their problems. This can be tough, especially if we're used to being the one who has all the answers. But by truly hearing someone else's perspective, we can start to build bridges of understanding and connection. Let's say you have a coworker who always seems to be in a bad mood. Instead of writing them off as a grump, try asking them how they're doing and really listening to their answer. Maybe they're dealing with a difficult personal situation that you didn't know about. By showing empathy, you can not only make them feel seen and heard, but also potentially improve your working relationship. Chapter 3. See through people's masks. Chapter 3 is all about seeing through people's masks, the personas we all put on to present a certain image to the world. Greene argues that these masks can be both protective and manipulative, and that it's crucial to be able to see through them if we want to truly understand someone's character. One way to do this is by paying attention to nonverbal cues. Body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions can all reveal hidden emotions and intentions. It's also important to question our own assumptions and biases, and to be open to the idea that someone might not be who they appear to be on the surface. Imagine you're interviewing a candidate for a job. They come across as confident and articulate, and their resume is impressive. But as you watch them interact with your team members, you start to notice subtle signs of discomfort and defensiveness. By paying attention to these cues, you might realize that this person isn't actually a great fit for your team culture, despite their impressive qualifications. Chapter 4. Always say less than necessary. In Chapter 4, Greene reminds us of the power of silence. We all know that person who seems to talk endlessly, without really saying anything of substance. But according to Greene, the most effective communicators are those who know when to keep their mouths shut. By being strategic with our words and speaking only when necessary, we can create a sense of mystery and intrigue that draws people in. This doesn't mean being evasive or withholding important information, but rather being intentional with our language and choosing our words carefully. Imagine you're in a negotiation with a potential client. They're asking a lot of questions, trying to get you to reveal your bottom line. But instead of giving them a straight answer, you pause and choose your words carefully. This creates a sense of anticipation and intrigue, and the client is more likely to be engaged and interested in what you have to offer. Chapter 5. Court attention at all costs. Chapter 5 might sound a little bit sinister, but don't worry, Greene isn't suggesting that we become attention-seeking monsters. Instead, he's pointing out that in a world full of distractions, it's important to be intentional about capturing people's attention. One way to do this is by creating a compelling narrative or story that draws people in. This can be as simple as telling a personal anecdote or as complex as crafting a brand identity that resonates with your target audience. Imagine you're trying to market a new product. You could list all the features and benefits, but that's not likely to capture anyone's attention. Instead, you might tell the story of how the product was developed, or how it's helped real people solve a problem. This kind of narrative is much more likely to stick in people's minds and create a lasting impression. Chapter 6. Create compelling spectacles. Chapter 6 takes things up a notch, encouraging us to create compelling spectacles that capture people's imaginations and inspire them to action. This might sound like a lot of work, but Greene argues that even small gestures can have a big impact if they're executed with intention and creativity. Whether it's dressing up in a costume to promote your business, or creating an eye-catching display in your store window, the key is to create something that people can't ignore. This can be especially powerful in today's social media-driven world, where a viral spectacle can reach millions of people in a matter of hours. Imagine you're organizing a fundraiser for a local charity. Instead of a boring bake sale, you decide to create a cake war competition, where local chefs and bakers compete to create the most elaborate and creative cake. The event becomes a viral sensation, and you raise thousands of dollars for the charity. All because you were willing to think outside the box and create a spectacle that people couldn't resist. So there you have it, a quick tour of the key takeaways from The Laws of Human Nature. From mastering your emotional self to creating compelling spectacles, there's something here for everyone who wants to better understand the mysteries of human behavior. Remember, these are just a few of the many insights and lessons you'll find in this book. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.